Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, Staff Training and Research Institute of Distance Education, STRIDE, Master's Degree Programs, Master of Arts, Distance Education, MADE, First Year. MDE-412 Instructional Design. Block-2 Instructional Design, Theories and Models. Unit-5 Instructional Design, an Overview. 5.1 Introduction. We welcome you to the first unit of the second block of this course on Instructional Design, ID. Do you know what is Instructional Design, ID? Are you aware of the various theories and models of Instructional Design, ID? In this unit, we will describe the concept of Instructional Design, ID, and we will also discuss the various theories and models for designing instruction. Instructional design as a process is the systematic development of instructional specification, i.e., the materials or output that contains the instructions, using the various theories of learning, ID models and communication technologies to provide quality instruction to distance learners. Instructional design theories and models pertain to how different learning events are designed, and what instructional strategies can be adopted for effective learning. It includes common tasks involved in most of the learning theories and models available to us. We have presented a few tasks involved in the process of ID so that you can select the appropriate tasks while designing instruction. In an early study by Andrews and Goodson, 1980, about 40 different instructional design models were reported. While it is practically impossible to cover all the instructional design models available, we will discuss some selected theories and models that are widely used and serve as a foundation for designing instruction for distance learners. 5.2 Learning Outcomes. After going through this unit, you should be able to times discuss the concept of instructional design, times explain the importance of different tasks involved in instructional design process, times describe different types of instructional theories of ID, times apply the models of ID for designing instruction, and times develop skills in designing instruction by using the theories and models of ID. 5.3 Concept of Instructional Design. Instructional design, ID, is a combination of two words, instruction and design. But what is instruction? Instruction is the deliberate arrangement of learning conditions to promote the attainment of some intended goal. Driscoll, 1994, p. 332, according to Henich, 1999. Instruction is the arrangement of information and environment to facilitate learning. p.7, where environment covers the place of instruction, methods, media, equipment, etc., that guide a student's learning. In other words, instruction is goal-directed teaching, which has been more or less pre-planned. According to Gandhi et al. 1988, it is a human activity which facilitates learning. It involves a set of pre-planned activities that help in learning. Now, let us discuss what is design. Basically, design is about how to make things. Design is a creative process, Ritchie, 1986, and to design is to create a blueprint and plan for something to execute, just like a house building plan. In instructional design, this process is almost similar to these tasks, where instructional designers teachers plan and prepare a blueprint for instruction for the learning to happen. According to Agarwal, 2007, a carefully prepared design can make a number of specific contributions. The benefits of preparing the design are: times the design focuses attention on goals. Detailing the specifications is a first and foremost step in design. Clearly defined statement of goals helps to ensure that the goals are worthwhile and are clearly understood by the practitioners. Times the design facilitates route to the action plan. Planning the design provides the routes to action plan and the undesirable alternatives are eliminated before they are implemented. Times communication and coordination, design helps to make a sequential track of action plan, and this, in turn, helps to give a boost to make good coordination of different type of activities. Times the design prevents wastage of resources, a clearly planned instruction reduces the load of unnecessary revision and thus helps to save students time and cost of materials. An instructional designer is required to look at different aspects of instructional materials while preparing a blueprint for designing instruction. These are times who, the learners, diversified and heterogeneous group. Times when, the sequence of events that should occur. Times how, the strategies, methods and media should be used, and times what, instruments and strategies should be used for assessment. Times what is instructional design. A number of other terms such as instructional development, instructional systems design. Instructional design and development are used interchangeably to represent the term instructional design. According to Charles M. Ridgel, 1983, instructional design is concerned with understanding, improving and applying methods of instruction. P7. According to Rita Ritchie, 1986, instructional design can be defined as the science of creating detailed specifications for the development, evaluation, and maintenance of situations, which facilitate the learning of both large and small units of the subject matter. This definition is similar to that of Briggs, 1977, which describes an instructional design as the entire process of analysis of learning needs and goals and the development of a delivery system to meet the needs. P. XX. Briggs also indicates that design includes the development of instructional materials and activities, and tryout and revision of all instruction and learner assessment activities. P. XX. The result of instructional design is a blueprint that prescribes what methods of instruction should be used for what category or kind of distance learners, in what context and for what cause. Thus, instructional design is a process that can be stated as a systematic process of designing an instructional solution to an educational or training problem. It requires identifying causes of the problem, determining instructional objectives and recommending or outlining instructional materials. Rogoff, 1987, p. 146. From the above definitions and discussion, we can summarize that instructional design involves preparing a blueprint for design and development of instruction, utilizing the available multimedia and various multidisciplinary approaches for facilitating distance learning. In the next section, we will discuss the various models available before us to follow in our own context. But, before that, please do the following: check your progress. Times purposes of instructional design. The purposes of ID are: 1. To design instructional activities events systematically, step by step, beginning with a basis of information to achieve identified objectives. 2. To cater to the needs of an individual distance learner. 3. Cost-effective use of information and communication technology, ICT. 4. Effective use of pre-produced courses programs to facilitate individual learning. 5. To promote organized two-way communication between the distance learners and organizations. Times tasks involved in instructional design. According to D.H. Andrews and L.A. Goodson, 14 common tasks in the instructional design process are: 1. Assessments of need, problem identification, occupational analysis, competence, or training requirements. 2. Consideration of alternative solutions to instruction. 3. Formulation of system and environmental descriptions and identification of constraints. 4. Formulation of goals and detailed sub-goals, learning outcomes, objectives in observable terms. 5. Development of pre-test and post-test matching goals and sub-goals. 6. Analysis of goals and sub-goals for types of skills learning required. 7. Sequencing of goals and sub-goals learning outcomes objectives to facilitate learning. 8. Analysis of the learner population in terms of their age, grade level, entry, behavior, goals, etc. 9. Formulation of instructional strategy to match subject matter and learner requirements. 10. Selection of media to implement strategies. 11. Development of courseware based on strategies. 12. Empirical testing of courseware with learner population, evaluation and revision. 13. Development of materials and procedures for installing, maintaining, and periodically repairing the instructional program. 14. Costing instructional programs. Some of the tasks, which are carried out while designing instruction and preparing open and distance learning materials are analysis of the content of the subject matter, identification of the learning attributes of the distance learners, designing a structure of the content, specification of the learning objectives, learning outcomes, selection of appropriate learning experiences in a planned sequence, designing of assessment strategies based on self-instruction, designing feedback components, and designing of the learner support services. Instructional design is visualized both as an art and a science. Theories, models and research in ID provide a base to create learning materials. It is also dependent on the creativity of the instructional designer to create or design a blueprint for a course or program as an architecture. You have seen that different tasks are involved in instructional design, such as needs assessment, collecting information about distance learners, stating learning outcomes objectives, systematic presentation of collected information or data. These tasks require scientific thinking, and, therefore, ID is considered a science. Role of an instructional designer. An instructional designer has to carry out different roles while designing instructional materials for distance learners. These are times designing a blueprint of a program course, times discuss the approach, models and theories with distance learners, teachers, academics, subject experts and media specialists, times creating an architecture for the arrangement of content within the instructional framework, times creating a design to present information content to the students with interactive and access devices based on learning outcomes, times designing multimedia and selection of media components, times demonstrating the procedures of navigating learning management system, LMS, platform, and times creating open courseware content. The theories and instructional design models help an instructional designer to create instructional events while preparing self-learning materials for distance learners, who have different learning experiences, learning styles and preferences. Therefore, an instructional designer has to play an important role. He/she has to work collaboratively with the subject matter experts, SME, media specialists, as well as the distance learners. 5.4 Theories and models of instructional design. In the above section, we have discussed the concept of ID. In this section, we will present different theories and models of instructional design to help you understand how a theory can be used while designing instruction. According to Andrews and Goodson, 1980, instructional design models serve the following four purposes. 1. Improving learning and instruction using the problem-solving and feedback characteristics of the systematic approach. 2. Improving the management of instructional design and development through the monitoring and control functions of the systematic approach. 3. Improving the evaluation process through the designated components and sequence of events, including the feedback and revision events, inherent in models of systematic instructional design. 4. Testing or building learning or instructional theory through theory-based design within a model of systematic instructional design. Adoption of a specific instructional design model helps members of the instructional design team to communicate in a language understood by all. Models also provide conceptual and communication tools to manage the processes of creating quality instruction. Models guide us on what to do in a step-by-step manner and inspire us to question and inquire into the validity of the claims that the models make. Another important aspect that we should always remember is that instructional design models are different from theories of instructional design, and a model may include one or more theories of instructional design. Why a model of ID? Following a specific and appropriate model for designing instruction or courses or programs or curriculum provides the designers or a teacher with certain advantages. The advantages of a model are: times it identifies the key components steps that should be considered in sequential order. For example, Keller's ARCS model, A attention, R relay sequence, C confidence, and S specification. Times it serves as a procedural guide for the instructional designers who are directing the faculty, subject experts, academics and media specialists. Times it allows those involved to understand where they are in the process and their role within it. Times it improves efficiency by reducing duplication of effort and ensuring that critical questions are asked and alternative solutions explored for quality instruction. Characteristics of ID models and theories. There are certain characteristics of these models and theories that are used for classification. These characteristics are: times the amount of preliminary analysis conducted, times identification of learning outcomes objectives, times analysis and sequences of learning outcomes objectives, times typical output in terms of the amount of instruction prepared, times analysis of subject matter, times quantification of conditions and treatment, times compatibility with different theories of learning, times resources committed to the development efforts, times team or individual effort, times instructional design skills experience expected from the individual or the team members, times technical complexity anticipated in the development of learning environment, times amount of tryout and revision required, and times dissemination and follow-up afterwards. 5th April 2001 Gagne's 9 events of instruction. Robert M. Gagne suggested 9 events of instruction to represent external teaching activities that support a student's internal mental processes of learning. The 9 events of instruction are: 1. Gain attention. In order to help the learners to learn better, it is important to gain their attention. Some of the ways to grab the attention of the learners are: storytelling, demonstration, presenting a challenging problem, making them do something differently. 2. Describe the goal and inform the learner of the objectives. Informing learners about the objectives helps them to know in advance what they are going to learn and what is expected of them at the end. Also, it is a cue to the instructor to state what he/she will teach the learners, and then instruct them, and then review and assist their learning at the end. 3. Stimulate recall of prior learning, concepts, facts, principles, and processes learned earlier are the prerequisite for learning new concepts and processes. Should be recalled before new learning can occur. The instructor can do this by asking questions, by stating the concepts, or by doing a review of what has been learned so far. 4. Present the learning material. Information is presented to the learner in small chunks from simple to complex sequence. 5. Provide guidance for learning. This step is to allow the learners to comprehend and assimilate the materials presented. Thus, the instructor needs to facilitate learning by providing guiding steps. 6. Elicit performance. In this step, the instructor asks questions to elicit learners' understanding of the material presented. 7. Provide reinforcement. This is to check whether the learner's performance is right or wrong. In this stage, Specific feedback should be provided. 8. Assess performance. Here the terminal evaluation examination of the achievement of objectives is done using some tests. 9. Enhancing retention and transfer. According to Aronson and Briggs, 1983, instructional designers cannot assume that learners will be able to transfer learning from one situation to another. Such retention and transfer should be included as part of the instruction. For intellectual skills, providing spaced reviews helps. For verbal information, providing linkages between information learned at different times is recommended. p. 92. Table 5.1, Gandhi's 9 events of instruction applied to online courses. 1. Gain attention. Present the students an interesting and relevant problem, idea, event, or situation to develop their interest. 2. Describe the goal. Describe the goal or objective of the lesson. State what students will be able to accomplish and how they will be able to use the knowledge. Make the learners aware of expectations. 3. Recall of previous knowledge. Remind the student of prior knowledge relevant to the current lesson, facts, rules, procedures or skills. Provide the students with a framework that helps in the retention and retrieval of information. 4. Present the material to be learned. Use appropriate media for content such as text, graphics, simulations, figures, images, sound, video. Follow a consistent presentation style. Chunk information into logical segments. 5. Provide guidance for learning. Help learners perform the task. Provide instructional aids, responses, or step-by-step instructions as support learning. Present information in a different medium or communication channel. 6. Elicit performance. Practice using new knowledge or skills. Produce a product. Repeat task or process. Respond to study questions. 7. Provide information. Provide specific instruction or peer feedback to analyze learners' behavior. Provide a checklist. 8. Assess performance. Administer a formal or informal assessment plan to determine the mastery of knowledge or skill. 9. Enhance retention and transfer. Inform the learner about similar problem situations. Provide additional practice in the form of real-life situations. Put the learner in a situation to transfer knowledge. Review the lesson. 5th April 2002 Bunty's Design of Instructional Systems. The instructional design theory by B.H. Bunty is one of the earliest theories proposed in 1976. This theory places a lot of importance on a detailed statement of purpose, leading to development of the system. The system emphasizes clearly stated objectives, analysis of the entry behavior of the learner and testing. Figure 5.1 depicts the ID theory proposed by Bunty, where the following steps are involved. 1. Analysis and formulation of objectives. The first step is to write down the purpose of the system and then outline what the learners will be able to do as a result of the instruction. 2. Criterion test. Prepare criterion reference tests to measure the achievement of the objectives. 3. Analysis and formulation of learning tasks. Prepare a list of learning tasks that the learners must undertake to accomplish the objectives. In this step, the following activities are involved. Times assess the entry behavior through an input test so that the learners do not have to learn again what they already know, and times identify the learning tasks to be undertaken. 4. Design the system. Times identify the process that will lead to learning. Times analyze how to achieve this, and times identify the time and place for this functional training to be conducted.
5. Implementation. This is the stage of implementation of the training and evaluating the achievement of the performance of the learners. the results of the evaluation. Determine necessary changes required in other components of the system. In this instructional theory, Bunty emphasized on this system's approach, that is self-correcting and a logical process for the planning, development and implementation of instruction. 5th April 2003 Keller's Motivational Design of Instruction. John M. Keller proposed that there are 4 basic categories of motivational conditions that provide a basis for a systematic approach to design motivational strategies. These conditions are attention, relevance, confidence, and satisfaction, often called the ARCS model. Keller, 1979. Figure 5.2 depicts the ARCS model, where the first step is to analyze the motivational problem in terms of the instruction and the student. The next step is to design motivational strategies, which is followed by implementation and evaluation. In the motivational strategy of design, attention can be gained in 2 ways: by arousing the curiosity of the learner, and by using an element of surprise or uncertainty to gain interest. Some of the strategies to gain attention include storytelling, humor, active participation, questioning, examples, analogies, etc. The second major motivational condition is that of relevance. Pupils learn more if they think that the topic is relevant to their personal needs. To make instructions relevant and provide an opportunity for choice and responsibility, the individual should be able to assess the future usefulness and today's worth of learning. The next motivational strategy is about building the confidence. This strategy is to help learners succeed, and, therefore, instruction should be provided in terms of incremental complexity. The objectives should be clearly expressed and the feedback provided to support success and to develop learner confidence. The fourth motivational aspect is satisfaction, and instructional strategy would be to provide learners with opportunities to use the newly acquired knowledge or skill in the real world. Use of feedback and reinforcement increases intrinsic satisfaction with instruction. Other strategies should include formative evaluation and creating an unthreatening learning environment. In the above subsections, you have gone through some of the common theories of instructional design. We can state that every theory advocates using of authentic and challenging tasks that require you to think and act with information as the basis of instruction. These theories give an emerging picture of the new paradigm of instruction. The diversity of theories of idea allows an instructional designer to select the task that best addresses the needs of specific instructional situation appropriate for distance learners. In the following subsections, we have presented you with 4 different models. 5th April 2004 Dick and Carey model. The most widely used ID model is published by Walter Dick, Le Carey and James Carey for designing instruction systematically as depicted in Figure 5.3. The first step is to assess needs to identify goal, S. The identification of instructional goal focuses on using needs assessment procedures for stating clear and measurable goals. The next 2 steps are parallel: conduct an instructional analysis and analyze the learners and contexts. The former determines the skills involved in reaching a goal and deals with the identification of the tasks to be performed, procedural analysis, and mental operations used by a person. The latter determines the prospective learner's knowledge, skills, personality and the environment. The next step is to write performance objectives in specific, measurable and achievable terms. This step is followed by the development of appropriate instruments for assessment of the identified objectives. The criterion reference tests items generated for each of the objectives help to diagnose an individual's acquisition of learning during the process of a lesson and are useful in the formative and summative evaluation of the instructional systems itself. The next step is to develop an instructional strategy. The different types of instructional strategy are information presentation, guidance, drill, practice and feedback. This step is about selection of instructional methods, teacher-led, cooperative learning, demonstrations, discussion, etc., to match the objectives. The next step is to develop and select instructional materials. This step emphasizes appropriate choice of printed and or other materials to support instruction. This step also recommends identification and use of already existing materials and development of new ones whenever required. The next step is to design and conduct a formative evaluation of instruction to provide data for revision and improvement of instructional materials and the overall process of instruction. The authors recommend a variety of methods including interview and small group discussion for the purpose of formative evaluation. The revise instruction step in the model is a supplement to the formative evaluation stage and continuously collects data during the tryout process to facilitate decision making and revision. The last step in the model is the design and conduct of summative evaluation that checks the effectiveness of the system as a whole and is holistic in nature. This step is mostly conducted at the end after some gap of time. 5.4 5 Bergman and Morey Model. Bergman and Morey, 1990, proposed the development model for the production of interactive multimedia, see Fig. 5.4 below. It is a systematic process that includes 6 major activities: analysis, design, develop, produce, author, and validate. The output of each activity in this system becomes the input of the other activity. This Bergman and Morey model is a linear model but is represented in rows and columns. Each of the 6 activities in the model can be considered as stages, and each stage has some input: activity, production, implement, and evaluation. The design activities take into account issues related to the sequencing of content, objectives, detailing out the message design and their treatment. This design essentially is a blueprint and also includes all media, interaction and navigation strategies, assessment methodology, etc. In the develop stage, the application design is converted into specific strategies approaches that can be productive. The develop stage will deliver multiple documents as storyboards, audio scripts, shortlists, etc. In the production stage, the multiple media elements are actually produced. In the author stage, these are integrated into one. The sub-activities in the author stage include coding, testing, and running. The validation stage consists of comparing the finished product with that of the original objectives and undertaking necessary revision. 5th April 2006 Smith and Ruggin Model. Smith and Ruggin, 1999, model of instructional design has 3 phases: analysis, Strategy and evaluation. These three phases include 8 steps, which are analyzing the learning contexts, analyzing the learners, analyzing the learning tasks, writing test items, determining the instructional strategies, writing and producing instruction, conducting formative evaluation and revising instruction. Fig. 5.5. The process is linear in nature from phase 1 to 3, but tasks within the phase may be concurrent as well. Analysis of context involves ascertaining the need for instruction in specific content and description of the environment where the instructional product will be used. In the analysis phase, the characteristics of the learners are analyzed, and learning tasks are broken down into appropriate instructional goals and objectives. At this stage, test items are also prepared to measure the achievement of the objectives of the instruction. In the second phase, instructional strategies are identified and implemented, including how to deliver the instruction and what methods and techniques to follow. Based on the strategies developed, instruction is produced and implemented. In the evaluation, the formative evaluation phase is conducted, and the results are plowed back into the systems for revision of instruction. 5.4. 7 Agile Model. This model of instructional design is represented by the acronym ASHURE, which stands for Analyze, State, Select, Utilize, Require, Evaluate. Fig. 5.6. Analyze learners. State objectives. Select methods, media and materials. Utilize media and materials. Require learner participation. Evaluate and revise. The Agile model is similar to Gandhi's 9 events of instruction. It is a procedural guide for planning and conducting instruction in a classroom or academic counseling session that uses media. The first step in this model is to analyze the learners and understand their general characteristics, their entry competencies, knowledge, skills and attitudes, and learning styles. The next step is to state the objectives in measurable terms. The objectives should be stated in terms of what the learners will be able to do as a result of instruction. According to the model, a well-stated objective meets 4 criteria, called ABCD. Where A is the audience for whom the objective is intended, B is the behavior to be demonstrated, C is the condition under which the behavior will be observed, and D is the degree to which the new skill must be mastered. Hamish, et al., 1999. Once the objectives are identified and stated, the next step is to select methods, media and materials to deliver the necessary content that will help in the achievement of the defined objectives. In a way, this stage is the bridge between the content and the objectives. At this stage, based on the need, new materials are also prepared. The next stage is the implementation, where the selected media and materials are utilized in the classroom academic counseling session. But before that, the materials must be previewed. It is at this stage that the instructor can include some of the instructional events of Gandhi. The next step is the concurrent activity of the previous step. For the instruction to be useful and effective, the learner's participation is required. Instructors' use of media and materials is not sufficient, and the learner should participate, engage in the learning process. Thus, there should be activities within the lesson unit to encourage learner participation. The instructor should provide necessary feedback on the efforts put in by the learners before formally evaluating it. The last stage in this model is to evaluate and revise. This includes the assessment of the learner achievement as well as the evaluation of the whole process of instruction. The result of both helps us to revise the instructional process. 5th April 2008 Constructivist Instructional Design Models. Most instructional design models discussed so far are based on behavioral and information processing learning theories involving well-structured procedures, with a major focus on learning environment reinforcement and situated learning. However, there is a growing body of literature on instructional design from the constructivist perspective, Bin, 1992. This literature focuses on constructivist learning environments, Jonassen 1999, Anchored Instruction, Cognitive Technology Group at Vanderbilt, 1993, Problem-Based Learning, Severi and Duffy, 1995, Goal-Based Scenarios, Shank and Cleary, 1999, and Situated Cognition, Brown, Collins, and the Guide, 1989, Herringerton and Oliver, 2000, identify 9 elements to design a constructivist instructional design. These are 1. Provide authentic contexts that reflect the way the knowledge is applied in real life. 2. Provide authentic activities. 3. Provide access to expert performances and the modeling of processes. 4. Provide multiple roles and perspectives. 5. Support collaborative construction of knowledge. 6. Promote reflection to enable abstraction to be formed. 7. Promote articulation to enable tacit knowledge to be made explicit. 8. Provide coaching and scaffolding by the teacher at critical times. 9. Provide for authentic assessment for learning within the tasks. pp. 25 to 26. The above elements are used in the design and development process in a specific context. The instructional designer also uses the reflective practice reflection in action and reflection on action, SCON, 1987. Thinking about our work and what we are doing leads us to reformulate the problem tasks in hand. The participation guidelines of the model are a little difficult to implement, as it proposes that the learners should be involved in the design process. However, a participatory design is highly significant and useful for specialized training in technical and behavioral aspects. It also improves learning due to ownership of the design by the participants. To summarize the above discussion, the constructivist ID models foster the learner's construction of knowledge and can be applied in designing instructional materials. It involves selecting relevant information, organizing it and integrating it with existing knowledge. These models focus on ways to develop instructional materials for print, text or multimedia to support the distance learners. It is up to the instructional designer to accommodate the best of different approaches and models in his/her practice. 5.5 Let us some UP. In this unit, we discussed instructional design as a process. We defined instructional design as a systematic process of designing instructional solutions by identifying the instructional problems, specifying objectives, identifying methods, media and strategies to deliver instruction. We also considered the importance of formative and summative evaluation to receive continuous feedback about the learning process and assess its overall quality. We discussed a few selected models of instructional design. we briefly discussed the constructivist approach to instructional design in this unit. By combining the constructivist approach with the basic principles and appropriate instructional design model, the instructional designers can design effective instructions in most situations. Though we also understand that none of the ID models fit in all these situations, thus, it is the situation and the problem in the hand that will guide you as instructional designers to use an appropriate instructional design model. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel for more updates, and we will see you with the next chapter.